Here we are going to talk about Docker volumes. We are going to see what exactly the Docker volumes is and why the use of Docker volumes and how the Docker volumes work and how to create and use the volumes and also how to manage them and some real life examples. So let's start from here. What exactly the Docker volume is? Basically, the let me take a pen. Yeah. Basically, the Docker volumes are like some external hard drives for your containers. They store data that survives even when containers are deleted. By defaultly, the containers are cannot store the data or logs whenever it was restarted or restart again build. Okay, so that is the concept of volumes. Okay, it is just like external hard disk. Let's say if your computer is there, if you insert external hard disk and suddenly your computer was shut down due to power issue. Okay, again when power come, when you are start your when the system starts, when you insert your hard drive, the data will be shown, right? So this is the same like that. And it is a persistence. What exactly the persistence means? When something persists, it says around even after the program stops, like saving a document before closing a word. Okay, so basically we are going to make all data persistent. So volumes make data persistent. Whenever let's say for example, whenever we are creating a word document, we need to save that, right, to available locally, to available make it available locally. So then we can close the word, and whenever we open the word again, we can open the same file again. So that is the persistence basically. And here is a problem with container. Containers are temporary in nature. When they stop, all data inside disappear, as I discussed in the first point. Okay, so you can think of volumes as a safe a deposit box that contains, uh, sorry, that containers can access, but Docker manages separately. That is the main motive of volumes. Okay, so here one more point here, a container dies when uh, data will be lost when container dies. Okay, that is without the concept of volumes. Okay, and now we are going to see the what exactly the volumes does and what how and what makes the changes. Okay, so if you see here, um, here is the purpose why the use of volumes. Okay, and whatever the red flag you are saying, it is without volumes, and whatever the green flag you are saying, this is with volumes. So basically, without volumes, the database data vanishes when containers restarts. That is the main disadvantage. It cannot share the files between the containers. So containers uh, cannot be shared one data, oh, sorry, contain one container data to another container data, and no way to back up a container data. That is the big issue. And lost work and angry customer. Obviously, whenever these things are comes into picture, there will be a loss of work, and whatever the customer or client, they will be angry. Okay, and if you talk about the with volumes, here what exactly it does was data survives container if container crashes or updates. Okay, so we need to make sure the data is surveying. And then next point was multiple containers can share the data. Okay, so how it was failing to communicate the data between the containers, then here it was re covering that point. Okay, so move to the next point. Easy backups and data migration will be done with the help of volumes. And finally, happy customers, and you are also will be happy. Here is the problems. What exactly the volume solves? Okay, Data loss prevention. Your database service container restarts also, whatever point we have discussed here, the same point here also. And data sharing, like multiple containers can access the same data, that is also point. And data easy backup also will be done. So whatever the points we have discussed here, the same will be comes under like what exactly the problem solved by the help of volumes. Okay, and moving to the next, how the volumes work. Let us see how exactly the volumes work. Where exactly the data lives. So basically, the volumes store the data on your host machine. Okay, keyword, it is a host machine, completely separate from containers. So it was not storing your data in your containers, it was storing in your host machine. Okay, why? Because by defaultly container was it won't store the it won't keep earlier data. Okay, whenever it restarted or updated. Okay, so this is the like main picture. Okay, and coming to the Docker role here, a Docker acts like a smart librarian where it will manage where volume are stored. Okay, remember this, where the volume are stored and connecting them to a container. So here to here, what I mean, who is doing this work? Docker is doing this work. Okay, so from local to container, it was doing with the help of Docker. That is the work of Docker here. Just understand here a simple analogy. Here, this is your host machine. That means your computer. Okay. So here the actual data will be stored, and here your container is there where your application is running. Okay. So here data is stored. Okay. But here data is using. So in between this, who is the bridge? Docker is the bridge in between this. Okay. So from here to data will be parcel here to use in the Docker container. So it is just like a bridge. Sorry. This particular bridge will be managed by a Docker, which is with the help of Docker volumes concept. Okay. So the host machine have a communication with this bridge Docker, and this particular Docker will have a communication with container. Two-way communication it will be done. And finally, we are achieving, I mean, we are able to access the data from host machine to a container. And but in actually, the container thinks it's writing to its own disk, but it was maintaining in the host machine. Okay, so that is the purpose of Docker here. Okay, that is how the volumes exactly work. Here we'll discuss how to create and use your volumes. So these are some essential commands you need to use for creating a volume, Docker volume, and create data. Sorry, my data was the volume name here. So this is the actual command to create a new volume. And let's say if you wanted to use volume with a container, then this is the command docker run -v and whatever the volume name is there, that and this colon, and then what is the target application path and then image name. Okay, so here actually what it doing was it was getting a data from the host machine with the help of a docker volume, and it was parsing that data to the container to this particular path, which is app data. This is the path within the container. Okay, and this is the real example where MySQL database is there. Here you are going to use Docker run -v. Whenever you are using volumes, you need to use this tab -v, and then whatever the volume. Okay, here db data is the volume, Docker volume, and this is the path. Okay, where lib MySQL was the path inside the container, and MySQL was the image name. Okay, so here how to mount and use. If you see here, the whatever the flag I just explained, this is a flag where it connects the volumes to the container directory. Okay, so volume to the within the container. And if you see the format -v volume name and the container path, this is the like what exactly I just explained. Uh, this is first one is the volume name and this is the container path. And like whatever the example we just seen, my data and app data, which means the volume my data. Here my data is the volume that appears as a in this particular path. Okay, app data within the container, the data which we stored in this particular folder, that is the like meaning here. And if you see here, there is a step-by-step example, like what exactly above given, that is the one. Here we are going to create a volume with the help of docker create, and whatever the volume name we need to specify, that is the name. Okay, and let's say if you wanted to run a container, we need to use this particular command, docker run -v and volume name, and then target container application path and then image name. Okay, so it will basically run a container. Let's say uh, sorry, here just a kind of point, the files will be saved to a web files volume, will survive a container whenever it was restarted also. Okay, so that is the like understanding we need to do here from here. And moving to the next point, which is regarding managing your volumes. How to manage volumes? Okay, so if you see here, there is a commands to uh, manage the volumes. Okay, these are the management volume management commands. Okay, let's say if you wanted to list all volumes, docker volume ls, is the command. Okay, let's say if you wanted to get a detailed information about your volume, this is the command, docker volume inspect and volume name. Let's say if you wanted to remove a unused volumes, Docker volume prune, it will automatically removes the unused volumes. Let's say if some volume is created, but it was nowhere attached to any of the container. In that case, it will be removed. Removes a specific volume. Okay. In that case, Docker volume RM and your volume name. This will basically removes the specific volume. Okay. And if you see here, there is a read-only volumes. Like this is also kind of volume management where we are going to give a command in this way, docker run -v. This is the name of the Docker volume and this is the path of the container, like target path where the data will be shown. Okay, and then this is the option. Okay, basically here RO option is to make a volume read only. Okay, likewise we can use a different options. This is the final image. And if you see here, cleanup, it is also one of the best practice. Well, let's say if you have unused volumes, containers, and images, all you need to be removed. In this case, you need to use this command. Earlier, we have used Docker volume prune, right? So here, Docker system prune -a volumes. Okay, so if you use this, it will basically I mean, removes the all images, containers, and volumes, which is unused. Okay, and there are some points here regarding the Docker managed benefits. So, if it will automatic backup will be integrated. Okay, and uh, cross-platform compatibility. We can communicate with. I mean, one volume can be attached to a another container also. Okay, the same volume can be attached to your multiple containers also, and there will be a better performance on Docker desktop. And This is a kind of a volume location. I mean, this is a interview questions also. Sometimes they may ask, what is the default volume location in Linux machine? This is the like a default volume location where lib Docker volumes. Okay, and this is in Windows. It will be inside Docker virtual machine. Okay, and we need to use this command like docker inspect. I think we already discussed about this. Whenever if you wanted to see a exactly uh, where exactly the data is stored. In that case, you need to use docker volume inspect. Okay, so it will basically shows the, I mean, inspect after that volume name. It will basically shows the detailed information where exactly the volume is stored. I mean, exactly the data is stored. Okay, and moving to the next, here are the some real life use cases of Docker volumes. Let's say we have your data storage. Okay, so it keeps your database safe through updates and restarts. Let's say if you have a database and your container is restarted or updated, in that case it will be maintained properly. Okay, safely it will be maintained. This is the command in real time. Okay, docker run -v, and this is the volume name, postgres data, and then this is the container path where the data need to be shown, and this is the image. Okay, so this is a complete full-fledged command. uh, I mean, this is the one of the real use case, the database storage and application logs also. Let's say if you wanted to store your application logs. Okay, if you started a container and there will be some logs will be generated, right? And then you restarted a container. Now, earlier logs will won't be stored in a Docker by default. So in that case, here this particular this is also one of the real use case to collect and analyze your logs even after container stops or restarts. Okay, it is also same like a Docker run -v and app logs. It is just volume name difference. That's it, and the target path also might be different, and the image is also different. And likewise, we do have a different, I mean, file uploads also. This is also one of the real use case where we are using. Let's say if you wanted to, you performed some actions, okay, and there will be some new file or some files are created, but that won't be stored, right, if you stop or restart. So in that case also, it is helpful. This is also one of the real use case, file uploads. And some cases, especially in interviews, they may ask regarding the uh, like Docker volumes question. When to use volumes? Okay, when let's say if any time a data needs to be survived or stored within a container lifecycle. In that case, volumes will come into picture. And what exactly the difference between volumes and bind mounts? Basically, the volumes are Docker mounted. Okay, so volumes will be mounted to the Docker, and binds are mounted. Sorry, bind mounts are connected to a specific host path. So it will be stored within a specific host. Okay, but volumes are not like that. It will be uh, managed by Docker and stored in a host machine. But bind mounts are like it will be dedicatedly specific to the host path. Okay, we need to give a host path if you wanted to bind uh, a mount with the data which is in the local. Okay, so that is the difference. And some best practices was always use volumes for database containers in production, especially. It will very much helpful to, let's say, in troubleshooting scenarios, and let's say if data or some logs backup need to be done like that. Okay, and the final point, which is volumes, is basically a data that survive. Okay, and it will basically protects the database logs and something uploads or some configuration files that will be stored for further uses. Okay, so yeah, that is the some real life use cases, and we have covered them, or how to manage the Docker volumes also, and how to create and use the Docker volumes, how exactly the volumes work, and use cases of volumes, and yeah, basic definition. Yeah, these are the points I wanted to discuss in this particular video, and stay tuned for more videos. Thank you.